Security guarantees will be provided, but only after the peace agreement is signed. This is the position of the White House, according to the publication Politico. Meanwhile, the EU and NATO are warning about possible potential threats from Russia and insist on security guarantees. My colleagues have gathered the latest news regarding the potential document. All the details are coming up next.
First the agreement, then the guarantees. In fact, everything will only happen after the document is approved. This is Washington's position. This was reported by Politico, citing Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He added that Donald Trump will speak about long-term security guarantees for Ukraine. However, Europeans are concerned that the US president's administration might tip the scales in Russia's favor. Therefore, Europeans are developing their own proposals.
In any peace agreement, we must focus on how to secure concessions from the Russian side so that it permanently ends its aggression and does not attempt to change borders by force. There are rarely wars in the world where the situation is as clear-cut as it is in this case. There is an aggressor and there is a victim. The emphasis should be on what Russia, the aggressor, must do, not on what Ukraine, the victim, should sacrifice.
But according to the New York Times, the Americans threatened the Europeans. U.S. Army Secretary Driscoll told Western diplomats about the missile threat from Russia, and not just for Ukraine. At the same time, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stated that the EU has identified 5 priorities that should form the basis of the agreement. These are ensuring a just and lasting peace, protecting sovereignty and the inviolability of borders, Ukraine's right to determine its own future, the responsibility of the EU and NATO for implementing the agreement, and the return of Ukrainian children.
Any agreement must guarantee a just and lasting peace, as well as security for Ukraine and Europe. And this concerns both deterrence and the security of Europe, since Ukraine's security is Europe's security. That is why Ukraine needs reliable long-term guarantees to prevent future attacks from Russia.
And this can be done by Ukraine's defense forces, and they should not be reduced. We need to strike at Russia's defense budget. Germany has already announced assistance to the Ukrainian military and is allocating winter aid to Kyiv in the amount of 170 million euros for the repair of damaged Ukrainian infrastructure.
We will not reduce our support for Ukraine. We will support the Ukrainian people for as long as it takes. And that is precisely why we want to make the frozen Russian assets available. Putin must realize that he has no chance of winning this war at the expense of European freedom and peace, ladies and gentlemen. And that is why Germany will provide Ukraine with a high level of support in the federal budget for 2026.
Meanwhile, in the United States, there is ongoing discussion about the scandal involving leaked phone conversations of Special Representative Steve Witkoff. He allegedly advises the Russians on how to present their peace plan proposals to Trump. However, the American president currently says he doesn't see anything wrong with this.
This is a standard situation because he has to sell it to Ukraine. As a businessman, that's what he has to do. And I can imagine that he said the same thing to Ukraine.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin confirms that Special Envoy Steve Witkoff may come to Russia as early as next week and rejects any concessions in the negotiations. Bohdan Verbitsky, Veronika Ivashchenko, Podrubici, Intermarathon TV channel, United News.